I know there's a lot happening right now and you're being flooded by information. So let's try to simplify things. Let's look at 10 questions. 10 questions that explain this war and what happens next. What is happening in Israel as we speak? Question number 1, what is the situation on the front line? Israel says the border communities have been retaken. Around 1,000 Hamas terrorists had launched an incursion on Saturday. They held on to localities in Israel's south. The next day, Israel declared war. They called in the military and special forces, and there were grueling gunfights in the south, but now most of the border communities have been liberated. Only a few holdouts still remain. What about the terrorists? They've either been killed or driven out. But the battle is not limited to southern Israel anymore. It is spread across the region. Israel is carrying out air raids on Gaza. More than 1,000 Hamas targets have been hit. You can see plumes of black smoke across the strip, the Gaza Strip. Many civilian buildings were also hit, but Hamas is not backing down. In fact, they're hitting back. Hamas fired more rockets through the day today. Air raid sirens rang across central Israel. People in Jerusalem were seen heading for cover. So this is not a localized incursion anymore. It is much bigger. Question number 2. What is the death toll? Last we checked, it was around 1,200. Around 700 dead in Israel, which is their worst toll in decades, and more than 400 people dead in Gaza. And at least 4,000 people are injured on both sides. The United Nations says around 123,000 people, 123,000 people in Gaza have been displaced. They've fled their homes. So the human toll is massive. And remember, this is in just 3 days of fighting. If the war escalates, it could be worse. Which brings us to question number 3. What happens next? Well, they're not looking at de-escalation for sure, not yet. Israel has called up around 300,000 reservists. Their defense ministry has announced a siege. Listen to this.
We are imposing a complete siege on Gaza. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything will be closed. We are fighting against human animals, and we are acting accordingly.
Israel's immediate priority is this: freeing the hostages held by Hamas. More than 100 of them are held in Gaza. But after that, what does Israel do? There is talk of a land invasion to occupy Gaza, to topple the Hamas. Israel's government has not officially confirmed any of this, but their prime minister did issue a warning. He asked Palestinians to start leaving. He said Gaza would be turned into an island of ruins. So the operation is not over, plus Hamas has lost the element of surprise, which means it is advantage Israel now. They decide where this war goes next. Question number 4. Was Iran involved in this attack? Well, officially Tehran has denied any involvement, but Hamas spokesmen say they did get help from Tehran. The planning began in the month of August, and we will detail the operation later on the show on how Hamas pulled it off. But frankly, it's not surprising. Iran and Hamas have a long history of cooperation. Their support, their weapons, all of it comes from Iran. So the chances of Hamas going solo are very low. Question number 5. Will the war spill over? And that is a real risk, the biggest risk right now, in fact. The Hezbollah in Lebanon have joined this fighting. Like Hamas, the Hezbollah is also close to Iran. They're sort of like an Iranian proxy. On Sunday, they began firing at Israeli positions. Hezbollah say their guns and rockets are with Hamas. In other words, they are in full support. So the worry is clear. Hezbollah could open a second front in this war. Which brings us to question number 6. What is Israel's most important partner doing? I mean the United States of America. What are they doing? President Biden spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu on Sunday, and he said more military aid is on the way. He has also deployed U.S. military assets to the region. One of them stands out. It's a carrier strike group. The US has deployed the world's largest aircraft carrier to the eastern Mediterranean, the USS Gerald Ford. They're also sending fighter jets to the region, both the F-15s and the F-35. So America's message is clear: let Israel do its job. Do not dare intervene. And this support is key for Israel. It gives them the freedom to carry on without fearing outside attacks, say from Iran or Hezbollah. Question number 7. What does this war mean for Prime Minister Netanyahu? He was called Mr. Security, the man who knew Israel's military and intelligence inside out, yet this happened under him. And it's not a good look for any Israeli Prime Minister. His critics say he was too distracted. Maybe the judicial reforms he pushed, or his tricky coalition politics. Either way, Netanyahu dropped the ball. There are 100 hostages in Gaza as we speak. Their families are putting pressure on the Prime Minister. They want him to negotiate to get them out. But those on the right want him to push on, to punish the Hamas. So he may win this war, but the damage is already done. Question number 8. Is this the end of the Arab-Israel normalization process? For now, yes. If not the end, it will be on hold. No Arab nation will touch this issue, at least for a while now. Maybe this was the whole idea behind the attack. Question number 9. What happens to Palestine? Well, this attack has complicated matters for Palestine. Countries are rethinking their support to Palestine, countries like Germany and Austria. Austria has ended all aid to the Palestinians. Germany says it will review whether aid should be given anymore. What does this show? It shows that countries are losing patience with Palestine, with their divided leadership, their radical tactics. All of it has fewer takers now. And finally, we have question number 10. How does this war impact you? More than 1,000 people dead is enough to move any human being. But beyond that, there are other impacts. It doesn't matter where in the world you live, chances are this war will affect you. Just consider oil prices. War in West Asia always spooks the oil market. Today, oil prices jumped by 5%. Brent crude reached $89 per barrel. And remember, Israel and Palestine do not produce oil. They're not even involved in oil shipments. Yet, this is the impact. So imagine if Iran gets involved, or there is fighting in the Gulf. Then oil prices would go through the roof. So this is a war that will impact everyone.